Hi ladies, I'm so glad you're here. We're ready to start the webinar, and I'd like to welcome you to Redesigning Midlife with Passion, Purpose, and Power. So for years we've heard much about midlife crises, and the common crisis that we've mostly heard about is older women in a sports car with a younger woman, and what they're doing is that they're looking to recapture their youth instead of accepting where they are. And I understand how that feels, because one day I woke up and I thought, where am I? Oh, midlife. What? Midlife? I didn't even know how to put a word on it. All I knew is that things were different in my life. I had, my son had gone out of the house. I had a successful business. I was thinking about early retirement. I was looking at what is it that I want to do with my life. All of my friends were experiencing the same things. It's like, what happens, and one of the great things that I've experienced in midlife is reconnecting with my childhood friends, because our lives have changed because we seem to have more time on our hands. So as a certified life coach and biopractitioner, while I was working with my clients and then again talking to my friends, I realized that many of us are having the same problems. We're experiencing, how do we move to this next phase? There's so many books written about how do you deal with adolescence, how do you deal with having a baby, having a new relationship. But where are we really talking about this part of our life, which is actually very exciting, called midlife? So I am having, so there's a lot of things that we experience in midlife. We have health challenges. Our bodies are changing. We don't know what's happening. Like I said, I woke up one day and thought to myself, how did I get here? I was looking at the 20-somethings and thinking, when did I become old or older? And as I look in the mirror, I think to myself, I don't feel older. It's just a number. Things in my life are changing. Opportunities are changing. But I don't feel any different than I did 20 years ago or 25 years ago. I feel like I'm the same person inside, just looking a little different on the outside. So when I decided to put this program together about redesigning midlife, I thought, what is the definition of midlife? So I went to the dictionary and I thought to myself, midlife. And it was just a real interesting explanation. It said, life, a central period in a person's life, usually occurring between 45 and 60. And I thought to myself, wow, that's the only definition that they have? Because to me, it feels like so much more. How do I transition to a point that's different? I look at my parents' generation, and life was different for them. So now we strive for healthier lifestyles, so we're living longer. So when we're living longer, how do we make the most out of our best years? And those are the years that are coming up. And at this time, when we're rediscovering who we are and what we really want, it can be really exciting or it can be really terrifying, because for most of our lives, we've ended up taking care of others, making sure that the kids were taken care of, the spouse, the home, whatever it is that we do as caretakers. So now it's time for us to take a look at what we can do for ourselves. So for some of us, this is going to be the first time in our lives that we've been able to put us together. Hang on a second. This is technical difficulties, so sorry. So let me just go ahead and continue this on, and then I'll take a look and see what I've got there. So I'm going to close my camera so you can concentrate on the information that I'll be presenting. And in order to honor everyone's time, I won't be taking any questions, but if you do have anything that you'd like more information on that you're not quite understanding, or just want to reach out, you can reach me through my website at Project Mindful, and that's with 2 L's.com. We're going to take about 45 minutes to 60 minutes today. And so I just want you to relax, absorb the information, take notes if you have to. And I'm going to be telling you how the 4 steps that you can take to implement today to start redesigning your life. Oh. No. No sound. Donna, can you hear me now? Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I will continue on. So sorry about that. Too many buttons, too much technology. It's a lot of stuff to learn. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the video now and continue on with the webinar. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Okay, so I talked a little bit about redesigning midlife with passion, purpose, and power. So we're going to go ahead and dive in now, and I'm going to go ahead and present the information to you. So a little bit about me. So my name is Christy Alonso, and I specialize in helping women in midlife empower and embrace a new way of life and achieve their personal goals. This was something that I never thought I would end up doing in my life, but a point in my midlife that said, I'm not feeling well, what am I going to do? I've always been a person who has done things naturally, looking to have a holistic way of life. And I thought to myself, something's not working. So through all of courses that I took, I decided that I was going to become a life coach. First, I started off as a bioenergetic healer, and then realizing that I had a mission, and I want to help women move to a new confident self. So I'm here to help you move from anxiety to vitality so that you can enjoy life with purpose and hope, and to get off the emotional roller coaster so that we can feel confident in your new life. This is something that we've not experienced before. How do we step into this life and embrace everything that it has to offer us? To purposefully move your life into a new direction so that maybe you can stop feeling lost and instead you can feel brave and take on this new chapter with zest. And I'm here to help you attract loving, supportive relationships with people that you want to have in your circle and that you feel good about, and that they're there to lift you up, not to tear you down. And to believe in yourself with renewed confidence and inner strength. So you may be here because your life has changed. Really nothing is the same as before, and we really had no idea what it would be like. Again, back to how many books have I ever read on midlife? I don't think one, but I've read a lot of books about other parts of my life. So this is celebrating the transition that we're going through. And you're searching for happiness and joy because you know that they're in there somewhere. You know you've had them in your lives before, but how do you bring them back into your heart? And that you lack energy and vibrancy because your physical chemistry is changing. And truly things in our body are happening that we had no idea. You know, when we talk about gravity taking effect, we're really able to see the effects of gravity. And that you feel like you're merely existing. So you need to ask yourself, what is your purpose? And possibly, why does anybody need me anymore? I had my life defined for many years, and now there's not a defined roadmap, but how do we get it into something, and how do we find what we want? And then you just miss being who you are. And then you often wonder, where did I go? So the good news is that you're not alone and that I've been in your shoes. So at this moment, I'd like to invite you to join me, and together we can walk through this transition. And this is to help you renew your passions and redesign yourself into the vibrant woman you know that you can be. So I can help you with my 4 steps for reclaiming balance and peace into your life so that you can start loving your life. And I want to let you know that I'm not here to sell you anything today. But if you stay with me till the end of the webinar, I have a gift that's just for you. So this webinar, I designed it for women who are ready to discover the awesome powers that they have within. We often forget how powerful we are inside because we just don't listen to that little voice anymore. We've been so conditioned to moving our lives into helping others that when do we look inside and say, oh, there's that fire that needs to be ignited? Well, part of this webinar is for you. And that it's also for somebody who's ready to make a life shift so then they truly can create their happiest lives. So I want you to know that you're in the right place if you desire to be happy again and to feel excited when you start your day, to wake up in the morning and say, I've got so much to live for. I'm so grateful for everything that I have. And sometimes it's just as simple as making a mind shift. And this is also for you if you're ready for deep healing, because some of the issues that we have are pretty deep. So we want to make sure that we can go ahead and break ourselves free from that. And that you're ready for some amazing personal growth and transformation. And most of all, that you're ready to work towards your best years. I am committed to empowering women to break free from their emotional blocks. And emotional blocks are things that we carry with us through life. And a lot of times we use them as badges of honors. But it's like carrying a suitcase full of rocks behind you all the time. These are things that are there. You kind of get used to them, but they actually weigh you down. So when I talk about removing emotional blocks, it's like I want to get to the center of the core of the onion. Our lives are like an onion. Well, we are like onions. We have these layers, and we want to go ahead and remove all the layers so we can get to the beautiful core of ourselves. And that's rediscovering your authentic self. And then so that you can absolutely create the love that you like, the life that you love. So does this sound familiar to you? Whether it's hot flashes, going to the bathroom 6 times a night, or just tossing and turning. You wake up in the morning and you feel exhausted and you think, I don't know how I'm going to get through the day. I can have 1 cup of coffee. I can have 2 cups of coffee. It's like, why do I have to keep doing this? And everything feels like a struggle. So it's like you're carrying the weight of everything and everyone on your shoulders, and that you really are not sure how to get rid of it. It could create physical pain, neck aches, shoulder pain, back pain. We're just struggling because we're holding on to everything. And then every day you go through life and it feels robotic, doing the same things day in, day out. You're not paying attention to your joy, to your satisfaction, what it is that you want to have in your life. And maybe you're getting overwhelmed with daily life, that your to-do list seems to get longer and longer, whether it be from procrastination or just not having the oomph to go to the store. I know that my life has changed ever since my son moved out of the house. I didn't like to cook before. I don't like to cook now. And it's gotten even worse because I don't have to take care of that child anymore. So when I go to the grocery store, I get completely overwhelmed because I can't think of that processes anymore. Another thing that we do is that we relive our past. So we keep telling ourselves the same stories over and over and over. And when we keep bringing those stories into present moment and present day, we continue to relive them. And as we relive them, we bring those feelings back up into our being. And then what we do is we go ahead and keep creating the same situation. Maybe you're wishing for a life free of anxiety, conflict, guilt, doubt, and worry. And you just want life's drama to go away and leave you alone. And possibly you feel that you're not growing in the right direction, that possibly you are growing physically instead of spiritually. So wouldn't it be great to feel the calm in the midst of chaos by staying grounded and centered and dropping into your heart space. When you drop into your heart space, you're going to experience more peace and more harmony. And you're going to feel successful in everything that you do by celebrating your wins. And it doesn't matter how big or how small they are. Living with intention by determining what is important for you for your happiest life. And to live a balanced life. And this is something that I hear more and more and more from the millennials, is they coined the phrase work-life balance. When I was growing up, that was something that I never heard, but because of the technology, because of what we have, because of the demands that we have as a society as a whole, we find that we're getting busier and busier. So where are we focusing our time on? Wouldn't it be fabulous to have work-life balance? And then what about finding your purpose? Finding something that you love doing. And at this point in your life, because you can, because you have the time, because you may have the means, because you have the freedom to find something that truly makes you happy. So when you shift your life, you gain a sense of control by putting yourself in the driver's seat. Nobody else is in control. That you feel connected to your true self by making yourself a priority and setting boundaries, making sure that nothing is coming into you that you don't want to have in your life. Making your choice with intentions so you don't feel like somebody else has control over your life. And stepping into your power and get ready for the next chapter in your life with energy and joy. This may not be for you if you're looking for a magic fix. We didn't get here overnight, so it's going to take some work. Maybe you don't believe that you can make the time because our schedules are so busy and we're so busy focusing on everything else and everyone else. Is the time that you're spending actually adding value to your life, or is it depleting you? And you don't believe that you can change or that it's even possible. I've been this way for so many years. I've heard that from so many people. I've been this way for so many years, I can't change. And maybe you're not willing to invest in yourself for a better future. I think this is a very powerful quote. The beautiful journey of today can only begin when we let go of yesterday. A couple of slides back, I talked about emotional blocks. And emotional blocks is that suitcase that we have that we're carrying all of our baggage in. Well, until we decide that we're going to let go of that, we can't begin the beautiful journey. So I encourage you to think about letting go of the past and moving to your beautiful future. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about me. So for me, midlife was a constant struggle. When I wasn't working, self-employed, and I had a part-time job working in the airline industry, I spent a lot of my spare time on the couch watching mindless TV. And then, of course, my personal relationships suffered. I was dealing with that time in my life with a marriage that wasn't working. I was caring for my elderly parents that had health issues. And then I was dealing with my own health issues. And I thought to myself, there really has to be a better way to live. Since I have always lived my life holistically, I thought I have to do something because whatever I'm doing now is not working. And my mind just kept going over and over and over about how bad things were. It was I couldn't do this. Why was this happening? And I just kept on that little hamster wheel of going round and round and round. And I knew something had to change. So I was really tired and burnt out. And I said, I can't go on anymore. So on my quest for internal peace and happiness, I was introduced to my friend Kelly. She wasn't my friend then. And through her bioenergetic healing, through nutrition, through life coaching, she taught me that I had the power within me to create my own life. Well, it's like, you know, what a concept. Duh, of course that should happen. And when I realized that my mind, body, and spirit were completely out of balance, energetically, my limited beliefs, I had to go ahead and start telling myself a different story about me. I realized that I wasn't honoring my authentic self. And by not honoring my authentic self, I couldn't bring my best self to any of the areas in my life. So while I was doing what I thought I should be doing and living my life for others, I was jeopardizing my happiness and my peace. I had forgotten who I was and what was important to me. And then I began to shift my life by learning how to empower myself and to be happy again. And that is the roadmap that I'll be sharing with you today. And on my journey of my life shift, I stepped into my power as a woman by deciding to invest in myself. It took time, there was an investment, but I knew with each step that I was going along the way, I was starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I defined what freedom was to me, and that was having the time to do the things that make me happy. I have always been a person who is into crafting and doing things with my hands. And one day I remember sitting down doing some jewelry, and I thought, wow, this is pretty awesome. I have the freedom to do the things that make me happy because I wasn't consumed with everybody else's life. Creating abundance in relationships, health, and finances. Health is very, very important, especially as we go into this next stage of our lives. Making sure that I can go ahead and take care of myself, that I have abundance in my health, to make sure that I'm eating properly, exercising properly. And I'm watching people that are older than I am and looking at what they're doing and saying, I want to be where you're at. I have a cousin who's just turned 97. And I look at her every time. She's a tiny little thing, probably barely 4'8". And every time I see her, it's like, wow, that's what I want to be. She dances, she takes care of herself, she walks. And it's like, that's what I'm looking for. So when I have an abundance of health, I know that that's the future that I can look forward to. And the biggest one was finding happiness. Happiness, something that's going to put a smile on my face every day, because I was choosing to make the best of all situations. We have a choice through life. We can either look at a glass half empty or half full. We can look at something positively or negatively. Happiness to me means choosing to make the best of any situation. Through my certified life coaching and becoming a bioenergetic practitioner, I learned how to combine my skills and the tools, and they became the glue that kept me in balance. So now I'm able to take a look and see, okay, same issues come up, how do I choose to deal with them? And the greatest thing that I have on my journey was I found my true passion. I had no idea that this is where I would end up at this point of my life. I often joke with my friends and I say, I should be planning retirement. Why am I starting this new business? And I've been doing this for about 5 years. So I'm helping women discover their confidence and authentic self. And what really, truly excites me is empowering women to thrive, because we all deserve to live our happiest lives. So some of the things that I've learned in this journey that I had been on is that there's no magic fairy dust, that it takes time, commitment, and hard work. And sometimes digging a little deeper, which doesn't feel so good, but once we get to the other side, we can celebrate it. And how to live life with purpose, to have intentions about what I'm going to do in my life. To quiet the chatter that tried to keep me small, all of those negative beliefs, those limited beliefs, the things that I keep telling myself that I'm not good at. And that also works with clearing limited beliefs. By clearing the limited beliefs, I now tell myself what I think I am, not what someone else told me. The part that says I am amazing, I am love, I am peace, I am all of those wonderful things, because that's who I am. That's who I think I am, not what somebody else thinks. and to create an amazing life filled with happiness, and that I deserve love, peace, and joy. And taking care of myself is a sign of self-care, not being selfish. So being in balance means no longer feeling anxious, guilty, conflicted, or filled with self-doubt and worry. So when your mind and body are in balance, you feel empowered. And I promise you that you have all the answers within you to create your happiest life. You just need a little guidance, you need a roadmap, and a cheerleader. And I want to let you know that all the women that I have worked with, they have been able to tap into their power, and you can too. It's a lot easier than you may think. You can discover your power and go after the life you want, even if it doesn't seem possible now. I know that shedding our former selves feels really scary and overwhelming, but really with the right tools, everything is possible. So now I'm going to show you the 4 steps that can change your life starting today. So step number 1 is to shine your light. And that is coming from your heart space. And when you learn to shine your light, that is part of loving yourself. So have you ever heard the saying, if it feels good, do it? To me, that's the basic premise of loving yourself. So when you're going to make a decision, think to yourself, how does that feel? Because if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. When you love yourself, you stop comparing yourself to others. We have to remember that our DNA is unique. We all have our own uniqueness. So stop comparing yourself and celebrate who you are because you are unique. Sometimes people think I'm a little more unique than others. Listening to your inner voice. So you want to drop into your heart space and listen to that intuition that you have. Because once we stop the mind chatter, you really may enjoy what you can hear. And by loving yourself, you tell yourself how awesome you are every day. The more you say it, the more you believe it, the more you become. When you love yourself, you make yourself a priority. And by making yourself a priority, you will nurture yourself into better physical health, mental and spiritual, and it's just going to make you feel better as you walk your day. When we think about a priority, it makes me think about the reason why when you're on an airplane, the flight attendant instructs you that in the event of an emergency, you put your mask on first. Because if you don't help yourself first, you can't help others. So in making ourselves a priority, we need to know that it's a trickle-down effect. Take care of me first, and then I can help you. And what you're going to do is you're going to increase your clarity on what it is that you desire. When you start focusing on yourself without feeling selfish, you're going to say, oh, this makes a difference to me. This matters. You're going to make better and more confident decisions, standing true in your decisions. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, is that you decide that you're going to wear a specific outfit to an event. And your husband, spouse, child walks in and looks at you, and you're thinking you're looking pretty good. And the next thing you know, they kind of look at you, and they don't really say anything. And they'll say, oh, you're going to wear that? And you say, well, maybe I'm not. So when we start to really listen to who we are, we're going to make that decision and say, yes, this is what I'm going to wear, and I don't care what you think. And then not in a bad way. And then, of course, to recognize how amazing that you are. When we don't love ourselves and shine our light, the light becomes dim. And what happens is that you're not being true to what is in your heart. You really start comparing yourself to others. And what that does is it keeps you in judgment about yourself. You don't elevate yourself up. You just constantly putting yourself down. When you do that, you deplete your mind, body, and soul. And if you do that long enough, it's going to keep you unhealthy emotionally and physically. We let that cup drain out. How do we fill that back up? And you live and play small. So it's like you don't matter and that you become invisible. And then you give your power away. And when you do that, you're making somebody else responsible for your life. So you can easily fall into victim mode by saying, well, I did this because of you, or you made me do this. I'm sure that we've all come across people in our lives that like to not take any responsibility for their lives and give the power to someone else. So make sure that this is what happens when you start dimming your light. On the other hand, when you start living from your heart, a lot of wonderful things can happen. This reminds me of when I was about 13 years old, and I remember getting together with my friends for a sleepover. And we would act really silly, and we would giggle, and we would stay up late. So when I really feel like I'm living from my heart, I feel that same sense of happiness and joy. So when you start living that way, you do increase your energy and you will find a happier life. And it helps you maintain healthy boundaries. So people stay on the outside where they belong, and only when you invite them to come into your inner circle can they do that. It moves you into a place of expansion and vibrancy. And it really makes you get excited to try new things and to make new friends. When you try new activities, you interact with people that have the same similar interests, so your circle of friends becomes larger. So what I do know is that when you shine your light into the world, that you live from your heart center, and you will attract more love, more harmony, and more peace. And I find that when you keep your light shining bright from your heart center and it spreads out, you're affecting the people that are nearest you. So as you shine your light, theirs becomes brighter too. And in this world where things appear to be so dark, how can we keep our light shining bright so we can be the very best we can and have that become contagious to other people? So I want to share a little testimonial with you with my client Bridget about shining light. So when I met Bridget, she was struggling to really find out who she was and her true self. And she really had no idea where she was going in the next phase of her life. She just knew she wasn't happy. And since working together, she has really become an awesome warrior. She has definitely stepped into the power of who she is as a woman. And interestingly enough, nothing in her life changed. She didn't change her job. She didn't find a new career. She didn't change her personal relationships. What she did was she found herself. She found out who she was inside and how she was going to present that to the world. So even though she didn't change any of those things, she is still on the top of her world. She is just sailing through life. She learned to become more confident, to be secure in her abilities and her desires, and what she's taking with her, these lifelong lessons, will move her through the next chapter in her life. So step number 2 is we're going to talk about how to free all the burdens that are just hanging on your shoulders. And the biggest burden that we take on, I believe, as women, is guilt. We feel responsible for everybody, and we feel guilty and bad for everything and everyone. So when you free yourself from guilt, you become happier. You focus on what you're telling yourselves. And we walk through life saying, what if this, what if that, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, what about this? We're always projecting into the future. So what we want to do is that we want to focus on the things that we're telling ourselves. And we want to ask them if they're true or not true. Because our mind has a funny way of playing tricks on us, giving us information that we don't want. So start thinking about the thoughts that you are having and pay attention to them. You might be surprised. And by freeing yourself from guilt, you realize that only you can make yourself happy. And if you have trouble deciding what makes you happy, how can you have an expectation that anybody else can know it either? I don't know if you've ever had a conversation with somebody and you expect them to know what you're thinking. And when they ask you a direct question, you'll say, well, no, that's not what I was thinking. And this whole miscommunication comes out because we don't tell people what it is that makes us happy directly. Communication. And when you don't forgive yourselves, you're only hurting yourselves. That's a huge burden to carry. And let go of things that don't bring you joy. Like I said in the beginning, if it doesn't make you happy, don't do it. You don't want to go around hurting other people's feelings, but who would you rather hurt, yourself or somebody else? Because remember, you're only responsible for living your life and not anyone else's. Another thing that we do that will keep a burden on us is taking responsibilities for others' happiness. When you take responsibility, it's a huge burden to carry over time, and you get more and more weighted down. And a lot of times, who asks us to do it anyway? We have a habit of going in and trying to save people and help them because we don't want them to experience life. We don't want them to experience pain or sadness. So we're going to go ahead and take care of everybody. So when we don't take care of ourselves first and start being responsible for everybody else, we can build up emotional pain. And then it eventually comes into physical pain. And then we have to have all these health issues and doctor's appointments when it starts it starts out as an emotion. It can create a chaotic lifestyle. We're going around trying to put out fires in everybody else's lives. And what is that doing for ourselves? We have frustration and regret, and then we feel resentful. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I recall when my son was a teenager, I had done something for him, and I felt that he was very ungrateful. And I said, well, you didn't even say thank you. And he said, I didn't ask you to do it anyway. And it made me stop and realize he's right. He didn't ask me to do it. I thought I would be nice and I would do it for him. So I felt very resentful. But then I had to realize that he didn't ask me to do it. I decided to do it because I wanted to take responsibility for his life. So now I want you to ask yourself, if you keep going the way that you are you going to be okay? And then what if you don't change anything? Or what if you do? So I've got some small, simple steps that you can take. So remember, not everything is yours to carry. When you're able to accept and forgive yourself for anything that's happened in the past, you can move on. It's important to leave everything in the past and focus on your future, because really that's the only thing that you can change. When you respect yourself and others, you stop minding other people's business. And that's a challenge for me. I have to remember, oops, not my business, close my mouth. Think what I want, but watch what I say. We have to let people live their own lives. We have to. We're living ours, let them live theirs. And recognize whose thoughts are you thinking. Often when we start to have these thoughts in our mind that make us feel responsible or feel guilty about something, they're really not our thoughts. And if we really stop for a moment and ask, is that mine? Is it my mother's? Is it my father's? Is it a teacher's maybe, something a teacher told you? Where did that belief come from? So pay attention to what you're thinking, because you really might be surprised that the things that you're feeling bad about really aren't your belief to begin with. Because most of the time they really aren't. And then look for daily wins, no matter how small they are. So I want you to think about, what is something that you did today that put a smile on your face? The more we start looking for those simple wins, and it could be something as, I see a bird outside, that could put a smile on your face. So pay attention to the things that make you happy and actually acknowledge and celebrate them. Step number 3 is creating amazing relationships. And at this point of our life, we really get to make a conscious choice of who gets to be in our life. There are many people that we run across in our life that stay for a while, a longer while. Some are with us for lifetimes. But how many of those do we have in our lives that really don't serve us anymore? Maybe it's a friend that you've had for many years. You're growing one way, the other person's growing the other way. Because we do all grow and evolve. And sometimes the more we grow, the harder it is for people to stay at our same level. So I want you to ask yourself, if you have people in your life that you really don't want in your life, and then make a conscious choice. Because you are such a gift, who gets to have the pleasure of having you in their lives? I think Facebook has taught us one good thing, is they've taught us how to unfriend people, at least on Facebook. So how many people, or are there people in your life that you would really like to unfriend? Think about it. You might feel lighter without that extra weight. To create amazing relationships, you have to let go of negative Nellies. You have to let go of the people that are walking around with this big gloom and doom over their head. They just have this black cloud, and every time they walk into a room, you just can feel the energy shift. And then really decide that you want to have people in your life that bring joy and support you, that they will support you in your endeavors. They will support you on your path. They will be a cheerleader and say, yeah, you go, you do that. They may not necessarily agree with what you're doing, but they love you enough to support you and say, I'm here. How can we do this together? I believe that this is one of the hardest concepts to learn and to put into practice. When you learn to accept people in your life for who they are and not who you want them to be. Once I learned this, and I accept people for exactly who they are, I know exactly what I can expect from them. And then I can make a choice if I want them in my life. So I'm just going to give you a quick, simple example that talks about how to accept people for who they are. I have one of my best girlfriends. She's always late. She has time management issues. There are several of us that get together monthly and we think to ourselves, okay, she's always going to be late. She's always going to be late. And we have learned to accept her for that. When I first was introduced to her and she kept being continually late, I was thinking to myself, you know, this is really annoying. Why am I waiting for somebody? She doesn't honor my time. She doesn't respect me. And I would complain about her or get angry. And then I had to realize, is this relationship worth ending because she is always late? It's like it's part of her DNA. I swear she must have come out. I'll have to ask her if she was born late, because she truly is always late. But because she's such a wonderful person and I truly enjoy having her in my life, I know that whenever we make plans that she's going to go ahead and be late. So I will go ahead and adjust my schedule accordingly so I don't have to get upset. And so I have learned to accept her for who she is, not who I think she should be. And expressing gratitude for your friends and your coworkers. So when was the last time you spoke these words to somebody? I appreciate you, or thank you for being in my life. Or the most simplest one that I hear most often is, I love you. When we start expressing gratitude and love daily, it's going to come back to us tenfold. So the last step is free yourself from your mind. And I think this is one of the best relationships you can ever break up from. What our mind does is it keeps us in criticism, negativity, anxiety, and worry. What it does is it lets us tell ourselves what we believe we are. And then when it tells us all of those negative things, we believe it and then we become it. So really, what words are you using when you talk to yourself? So how to break yourself up from your mind is to start discovering who you are in your heart center and to discover your authentic self. And you can do that by getting quiet and accessing the innate wisdom and knowledge that you have that'll help you discover who you really are and what makes you happy. I love the rocking chair analogy, and this talks about worry and anxiety. Because when we're in that state, it really creates confusion and doubt, and it doesn't get us anywhere. So worry is like sitting in a rocking chair and expecting to get somewhere. Because when you're in a rocking chair, it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes back and forth. You're in a perpetual motion, but you're not moving anywhere. So worry is like sitting in a rocking chair. You're not going to get anywhere. But imagine the energy that you waste on worrying. And if you can imagine that as you're physically sitting there, going back and forth, what would happen if you took all of that energy and you put it into something to propel you into a forward motion towards something that's going to make you happy? Think of how much more vibrancy and how exciting that would be to take that same information, that same energy, and move it forward. And another one is the hamster wheel. And what this does is it keeps the repetitive thoughts going round and round and round, and they make us feel powerless and weighted down. And we're never able to see what's out there that's better for us. It keeps us small. And what we need to do is that we want to go ahead and focus on the limitless abilities ahead. So what happens if you don't make a change, the big change? You can struggle where you're at and live in fear of the future, and you can remain stuck. And I know that really sounds horrible, but many women in midlife have no idea how to choose a different path. And sometimes the uncertainty feels more familiar than taking charge and going forward. So some of the things that you can do to quiet that mind is to be in the moment. And when your mind holds you hostage with negativity, determine if it's something that you have control over. Is it something that's happening at this moment, and do you need to act? Most times these thoughts that we have that are filled with negativity, if we just stop and breathe again, the negativity stops. The thought stops, because we can't breathe and think at the same time. And when you learn how to ground and center yourself with a simple exercise, you get to step into your power and then refocus on a happy thought. When we're stuck in our heads and we're stuck in that negative thought, if we replace that with a happy thought, eventually the negativity will stop coming up and you'll keep remembering the positive, happy picture. When I was in labor, they asked me to bring in a photo so I could focus on it when I was getting contractions. And if we can learn to do the same thing with our lives, it will reduce the pain, reduce the negativity, and keep us moving forward. And when you break up with your mind, you move into self-acceptance. You recognize and honor the accomplishments that you've made. So when was the last time you sat down and wrote a list of all of the wonderful things that you've done in your life? And I don't want you to be shy. You deserve to be boastful about what you've done. And if you can't think of anything that you've done, an accomplishment, I want you to think about what you are doing right now at this time. You've made time for yourself to be here so you could learn how to step into transitioning with ease. Learn to trust your intuition because you have all the answers within. It's called women's intuition for a reason, and it's time that we really started using it on ourselves instead of having it for everybody else. Find out what people like about you and believe it. So I want you to try this simple exercise. I want you to ask your loved ones to tell you 3 things they love about you. Write it down, look at it, and believe it. Treat yourself as you would treat your best friend. I don't know about you, but if I was to talk to my best friends the way that I talk to myself, I wouldn't have any friends. So remember and be careful for what you say to yourself, because you are listening, and we do become what we believe. And silence the voice within you that hasn't met the awesome you. One of my favorite exercises I have my clients do is to do a happy dance while shouting, "I'm awesome, I'm awesome, I'm awesome," daily. And at first it really feels strange, but after a while, you start to feel it all the way down to your core. And find your bliss. When was the last time you did something that made your cheeks hurt because you were smiling so much? Or you were laughing where you had tears running down your eyes? Find out what lights you up. And what makes you do cartwheels? That's if you still can. I've tried it and I know I can't. It looks like a simple exercise, but no, not anymore. And let yourself shine and find your bliss. Is there something that you've always wanted to do, to learn, but you just didn't have the confidence or think you had the talent to do it? So now is the time to go for it, because we are unstoppable. You change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this is one of my favorite quotes. I cut it out of a magazine many, many years ago and had it on my office wall, and finally had to take it down because it was so faded. But it's etched in my brain. And when I began to look at the way I looked at my life's circumstances and made a choice to look at them differently, through a different lens, with self-awareness, with empowerment and confidence, I no longer felt like a victim to my life, and my life changed. I learned that I had a choice on how to live my life. This is another short testimonial from Kylie. She wasn't experiencing major changes in her life, but she really just felt out of sorts. So while using life coaching and bioenergetic healing, she started her own business, she became engaged, and now she's looking to a bright future. So to recap, the 4 steps to redesign your life is to shine your light, and you do that by loving yourself. You free yourself from guilt, stepping into who you are. You create amazing relationships so you can experience more love, more harmony, and more peace. And you free yourself from your mind. You learn how to tell yourself all of the wonderful things that you are, so you can create the best life ever. So are you ready to discover your power and recreate your life? Have you been waiting to make things happen? To take a leap of faith and become fearless? Find limitless possibilities? Uncover those emotional blocks, unpeeling the onion, so you can change your perspective and move into acceptance. Can you imagine a life where you're free from your past, that you no longer have to tell those stories and they no longer have control over you? But you can go ahead and speak your truth. You can ask for what you want. and not feel guilty and not feel selfish? Can you imagine to say what you want, to be confident that that's what you want to do without second guessing yourself, without needing anybody's approval, and surround yourself by those loving, supportive relationships? So at this point, you have a choice. You can stay where you're at. You can listen to the mindless chatter. You can fight any anxiety that you have and worry. You can take the 4 steps that we've talked about and make some positive changes, and hopefully they'll stick. Or you can work with me and we can design a roadmap so you can live the life of your dreams, one step at a time. So I can help you gain clarity about who you are and what you really want, because this is not about me, this is about you. To release those emotional blocks, to free you from that pain that are keeping you stuck, and to learn the mindset skills that are crucial for your long-term happiness. Remember I told you about a gift? Well, my gift to you is that you're going to receive a complimentary 45-minute breakthrough call so we can dig deeper into really what's blocking your best life. And I have a special bonus for the first 10 women to sign up for the call. So spaces are limited. So you're going to want to go, the easiest way to go is through projectmindful with 2Ls.com. And there is a tab for breakthrough sessions, and just go ahead and set your appointment up there. This call is for you if you're tired of struggling and you're ready to get the help that you want. That you're ready to say, okay, this is my life, this is what I'm going to do. That you really like the idea of getting rid of all of that emotional baggage. Knowing that your situation doesn't have to change, but you will change from the inside out. Maybe you've been working on personal development and you just need the few extra pieces of the puzzle. And you really don't want to sacrifice your happiness anymore for anyone else's. The call may not be for you if you're not willing to dig deep and do the work. It does take hard work and commitment. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And you don't believe there's any way you can change. You're stuck in denial and you're not willing to make yourself a priority. And why I offer the call is because I believe that we all deserve to enjoy our happiest lives. And it's my mission to help you explore the limitless possibilities that we all have. I am doing something that was never part of my spectrum of life. And I don't want you to feel that you have to give up or that you're in this alone. So let's go ahead and chat, set up a call. So on our call, we're going to talk about you and your situation. And I'll help you find ways to apply the 4 steps into your life. We're going to talk about the Life Shift program and if it's a good fit for you. And then if we decide to start working together, that's great. And if we don't, that's still totally okay. But if you work with me, you're going to learn how to love yourself instead of sabotaging yourself. I'm going to teach you many exercises to let go of limiting beliefs, to step into who you know you are, create better relationships, and clear the path for a happier life, to become more confident and self-aware, to rewrite the story of your life, to look at things through a different lens, to make sure that you shine the light from your heart into the world, and that you really become the gift that you are. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So this is the first step, and it's always the hardest, but it's the only way to get to the second step. So I do have a second bonus for action takers, for awesome warriors, and for women that say, let's do this. Because we find that our best success stories come from those types of women. The women that are ready to say, I'm here, I'm going to do it, I need to make a difference in my life. So if you sign up within the first 24 hours, you'll get an additional special bonus that I'll tell you about at the time. So if you're ready to move forward, please schedule your call because spaces are limited. I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this time with me today, and I truly hope to talk to you soon. It has been my honor and blessings to you all. Thank you.